Hey there, Washington Commanders fan. Today we're talking about something crucial for our team in Week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And look, it's not just the players' skills that will be tested, but also their resistance to the insane heat waiting for us in Florida. But stick with me until the end, because the defensive strategy that coordinator Joe Witt Jr. is preparing is enough to get any fan excited. And of course, subscribe to the channel, because here we'll keep you in the loop about everything happening with our team. Don't forget, we have 2 important news items in this video today. Now, before we talk about the defensive rotation itself, we need to understand the challenge ahead. The weather forecast for the game against the Buccaneers isn't friendly at all. Besides facing a strong opponent, we'll be dealing with heat and 72% humidity. It's a challenging scenario not just for our team, but for anyone playing in these conditions. Those who have played or watched a game in these terms know how the heat can literally drain the athlete's energy. You can already imagine the impact this will have. And this is exactly where Joe Witt Jr.'s brilliant plan comes in, our defensive coordinator. He knows it won't be easy to maintain the rhythm on the field with this heat, so he's crafting a strategy to keep our players rested during the game. Witt doesn't want to see anyone exhausted in the fourth quarter, and to avoid this, he intends to implement a heavy rotation of our defenders. In other words, the idea is to ensure we always have fresh guys, especially on the defensive line, where the wear and tear is greater. This will be crucial to contain the Buccaneers' offense, which will be trying to take advantage of any fatigue on our part to advance on the field. And there's an interesting insight from Witt here. He'll try his best to keep at least one of our 2 monsters on the line, John Allen and Darren Payne, on the field at all times. According to him, the key is not to leave both on the sideline at the same time. These guys are essential to our defense, and if we can keep one of them in there all the time, our chances of pressuring the opposing quarterback increase significantly. And check this out. He's already thinking about Johnny Newton's return too. The guy will come back ready to make an impact, and this defensive rotation will be even stronger with him on the field. Now, if there's one thing that's important to mention, it's the fact that games in Florida at this time of year often result in players suffering from dehydration, and this isn't exclusive to the Commanders. The home team will suffer from this too, but with this smart rotation that Witt is planning, we might be one step ahead. After all, the rotation will allow our players to rest more and return to the field ready to give their all. We're going to need every drop of energy from them to stop the offense led by quarterback Baker Mayfield. Speaking of Mayfield, he's a quarterback who likes to improvise, and we can't let him have time to do that. Witt's idea is to have fresh legs and arms to go after him, and this rotation will ensure exactly that. With Payne, Allen, and soon Newton pressuring the Bucs' offensive line all the time, the chance of forcing Mayfield to make mistakes increases significantly. And as fans, we know how decisive this can be in tight games like this one. But don't be fooled. It's not just the defensive line that will feel the impact of this rotation. Linebackers and even cornerbacks can also benefit. When the front 7 is playing at high intensity and pressuring the quarterback, the secondary ends up having more time and space to cover the receivers. And this might be the big trick of this plan. A rested and energized defense means less time for Mayfield to think, and fewer chances for the Buccaneers' offense to advance on the field. This, without a doubt, can be the difference between a win and a loss in this first game. The Commanders' defense has been one of the team's strongest points in recent seasons, and this shouldn't change anytime soon. With players like Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the edges of the line, the impact of this defensive rotation can be even greater. We know how devastating these guys can be when they're rested and ready to attack the quarterback. And if Witt can coordinate this rotation well, giving players the necessary rest at the right moments, we might see a true defensive wall forming. Now, if you're like me, passionate about this team and already eager for the game to start, stick with me until the end of this video, because I have some fresh and exciting news to share with you. We're going to talk about Dan Quinn, who's ready to transform the team and make history right in his first season. And let me tell you, the guy has a heavy mission on his hands, but if anyone's prepared for it, it's him. So, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because this season promises a lot, and you won't want to miss anything. Now, let's get straight to the point. Dan Quinn, who was hired as the new head coach of the Washington Commanders this offseason, is about to start his first season in charge of the team. But his story is much more interesting than just a simple coaching change. After being fired by the Atlanta Falcons in 2020, many people doubted he could get another job as a head coach in the NFL. But Quinn didn't sit around feeling sorry for himself. He reinvented himself and, as the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, transformed a defense that was in shambles into one of the best in the league. And that's exactly what caught the attention of the new Commanders management. The decision by Josh Harris, the new owner of the Washington Commanders, and Adam Peters, the new general manager, to bring in Dan Quinn wasn't just a matter of resume. It was a strategic choice. They knew they needed someone with experience and the ability to make real changes, both on the field and behind the scenes. The team's culture had been through complicated years under Ron Rivera's management, and Quinn arrives with the mission to erase that phase. He not only needs to adjust the team technically, but also transform the internal climate and, of course, bring hope back to the fans who have suffered too much in recent years. And that's why the matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is so important. It's not just another season opener, it's the beginning of a new era. Quinn knows this, and as he said in a recent interview, he's not taking this opportunity to be a head coach again for granted. For him, there are only 32 head coaching positions in the NFL, and being among those 32 is something he values tremendously. This kind of humility and dedication is exactly what the Commanders need right now. The fans feel that the team is ready to turn the page, but will this change in mentality be enough to face the challenge right off the bat against the Buccaneers? After all, we're talking about an opponent who, despite losing some important pieces, still has a strong foundation and is always competitive. And this is where the expectation that we, the fans, have for Quinn's work comes in. He was brilliant in Dallas in adjusting the defense, and has already shown in Atlanta that he has the ability to take a team to the Super Bowl. Now, with a renewed team full of potential, he'll have the chance to put his mark on the Commanders. The big question for us fans is how this defense will behave right from the start. The offseason was busy, with smart signings and draft choices, all to strengthen the roster and give the coach more options. Still, we know that chemistry takes time, and the preseason doesn't always reflect what we'll see on the real field. But, without a doubt, there's a growing confidence that Dan Quinn is on the right track, and that he's already managing to change the mentality of everyone in the locker room. Speaking of changing mentality, one thing we've already noticed is the coach's attitude towards the game. He's not afraid to take risks and won't sit around waiting for things to happen. Quinn is known for his energy on the sidelines and for being an active leader who participates in every play as if it were the last. This will certainly give the team a new face. And of course, we also want to see how he'll use the new pieces that arrived through free agency and the draft. Players like linebacker X, who was a first-round pick, have everything it takes to shine under Quinn's command. Now, if you're one of those who are still a bit skeptical about the Commanders' future, I understand. After all, we've seen so many promises in recent years that sometimes it's hard to believe that now it'll be different. But fan, I tell you, there's something in the air this year. The way Dan Quinn is positioning himself, the new direction, the roster with more depth. All of this points to a season that could be a turning point. I'm not here to promise a Super Bowl, but we'll certainly see a much more competitive team, with grit and a will to win. And, to wrap up, I want to leave a question for you, loyal fan. Will Dan Quinn really be able to transform the Washington Commanders in his very first year? Will he be able to adjust the defense and bring the winning mentality we so desperately need? Leave your comment down below and tell me what you think. Oh, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the news about our team. Let's go on this journey together because this season promises to be unforgettable. The Washington Commanders, although underestimated in recent years, can now surprise their division rivals like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, the rivalry with the Cowboys becomes even more interesting with Quinn at the helm of the Commanders, since he comes straight from the heart of Dallas. Can you imagine what it'll be like when he faces his old team? You can bet that this will be one of the most anticipated games of the season, and I can hardly wait to see how it'll go. The impact of the new leadership on the Commanders' offense also can't be ignored. Although Dan Quinn is known for his defensive expertise, his presence on the team is already influencing offensive performance as well. After all, the balance between a solid defense and an efficient offense is the key to success. With new reinforcements on the offensive line and young talents in the attack, the Commanders have the opportunity to be a complete team, capable of competing at a high level in all phases of the game. So guys, get ready, because the Washington Commanders are entering a new era. Now it's our turn to shine.